There's a moment so silent that most people miss it entirely. A moment when everything you thought was solid starts to dissolve, like morning mist under the rising sun. You feel as if the ground is opening beneath you, and yet, at the same time, a lightness emerges, one you never allowed yourself to feel before. It's as if, for the first time, you breathe without the invisible armor you've carried your whole life. Your shoulders drop, your chest opens, the air reaches deeper. Most people walk down narrow hallways, following signs painted by someone else's hand. They live by rules no one dares to question. Be strong, be flawless, never show weakness, never get lost. But one day, all of this begins to creak from the inside. You feel a strange ache, a restlessness that goes beyond fatigue. It's not just sadness. It's the quiet call of your true self, patiently waiting to exist. Who am I beyond everything they asked me to be? Maybe you've never stopped to listen to this whisper. Maybe the fear of looking inward has always been stronger than the curiosity to discover yourself. But there comes a moment, inevitable, when you can no longer ignore it. It's when you realize that freedom isn't a prize someone hands you, but a secret space that reveals itself within you. And when that happens, what once felt unbreakable turns into living poetry. Life stops being a mechanical sequence of steps and begins to pulse with a rhythm that is entirely yours. Today, I want to guide you to that point. That exact second when you set yourself free forever. Not to become someone new, but to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. Maybe you felt a strange pang when waking up, a sense of emptiness you can't explain with words. Even surrounded by people, tasks, and achievements, something still feels missing. Like you're always chasing something that never quite arrives. That emptiness isn't a mistake. It's a sign, a gentle whisper saying, you're living a life you didn't fully choose. Who am I beyond everything they asked me to be? How many times did you choose paths because they seemed safe? How many roles did you accept because they looked right? And deep down, in every silence, in every sleepless night, the question always returns. Who am I, really? There's a space inside you that no one can invade. A pure, untouched space that holds the essence of who you are. But reaching that space isn't comfortable. It's like crossing a dark forest with no map, no lantern, only guided by intuition. You'll meet fears, old wounds, memories you wished you could forget. But you'll also find a flame, small but alive. It never went out, even when you thought you were completely lost. This silent call doesn't promise glory. It doesn't promise approval. It promises only truth. And the truth, no matter how raw, is the only path to real freedom. If you have the courage to listen, to cross, to strip away everything that isn't yours, something extraordinary begins to happen. A new clarity, a new breath, a new way of being. When you start listening to this call, something curious happens. The walls that once felt safe begin to show cracks. The certainties reveal themselves as crutches. And every crutch you let go of hurts, because even if it was an illusion, it kept you standing. The mind, desperate for control, will try to pull you back. It will whisper, it's dangerous to let go. You'll be alone. No one will understand. But deep down, there's another voice, barely perceptible at first, but growing stronger as you draw closer to yourself. That voice doesn't shout. It doesn't demand. It simply waits with infinite patience for you to get tired of running away. It's like opening a window in a room that's been locked for years. Fresh air flows in. Light touches forgotten corners. And you realize just how suffocated you had been. You don't need to destroy who you were. You don't need to deny your old versions. You just need to let go of the weights, the inherited beliefs, the emotional armor. With every layer that falls away, you feel a childlike lightness, a spontaneous laugh that arises without reason, a tear that slides down without explanation. It's your soul remembering its way home. And for the first time, you realize that freedom isn't a finish line. It's a living sensation, born when you dare to be whole, even imperfect. When you open those inner windows, the new air can be frightening. It's common to want to close the curtains and pretend nothing happened. The truth doesn't offer guarantees. It doesn't make sweet promises. The mind creates ghosts. It recalls every rejection, every fall, every disapproving look. It repeats, like a mantra, go back to where it's safe. But what feels safe is actually a beautifully decorated prison. The greatest resistance isn't outside. It isn't your boss, your partner, your family, or the world. It lives within you. It wears the mask of fear, the disguise of procrastination, the smile of self-sabotage. It feeds on every broken promise, every abandoned dream, every "I'll start tomorrow." This is where many give up, because facing these layers requires courage. Courage to stay in discomfort. Courage not to seek distractions. Courage not to run back to old emotional habits. But when you choose to stay, something silent starts to dissolve. Rigidity gives way to a living flexibility. Fear, when looked at directly, becomes just a passing cloud. A different strength arises, not from control, but from surrender. Who am I beyond everything they asked me to be? Carl Jung believed that humanity's greatest tragedy wasn't pain, but the refusal to look inward. The shadow doesn't just hold what is bad. It also hides forgotten talents, creative impulses, desires once labeled as too wrong to exist. Ignoring the shadow is living half a life. But when you face it, something extraordinary happens. Pain transforms into understanding. Anger becomes creative energy. Fear dissolves into clarity. This is where true freedom is born. Not a fleeting freedom tied to external circumstances, but a silent, unshakable freedom. You no longer have to fight yourself. You no longer have to hide your flaws or constantly seek approval. You start walking lightly because finally you are whole. And strangely, that's when you feel truly alive. Every breath becomes a reunion. Every glance at the world carries a new depth. What used to be fear becomes space. What used to be confusion becomes presence. After meeting your shadow, something subtle but powerful starts to shift. Not in a dramatic way, but like a slow sunrise on a quiet morning. You wake up and no longer feel the urge to prove anything. The inner noise begins to quiet. Life, which once felt like an exhausting marathon, turns into presence. Conversations become deeper. Simple moments, a warm coffee, a breeze on your skin, a distant laugh, stop passing unnoticed. You realize you don't need to fill the emptiness anymore. Now there is space. Real, inhabitable space. You return to your body, to the place that was always yours. And in that return, everything feels new. Not because the world changed, but because you stop filtering it through old wounds. You start saying no with ease. You start saying yes only when your heart agrees. And maybe for the first time, you don't feel guilty for being who you are. This is the silent revolution. The one that doesn't make headlines, but changes destinies. Freedom doesn't demand that the world understands you. It only asks that you no longer abandon yourself. When you let go of the need to be perfect, something unexpected happens. Pain stops being an enemy. It becomes a silent teacher, perhaps the most honest one you'll ever meet. Pain points out where rigidity still lives, shows you where you still resist the natural flow of life. And so it becomes a map. Instead of running, you begin to approach. You listen. You embrace. You understand that each scar carries a sacred story, a living proof that you were present, that you felt, that you truly lived. And strangely, from that embrace, a new compassion is born. For yourself, for others, for the world. Pain stops being an obstacle on the path. It becomes the path itself, a bridge connecting you to your truest essence and to the heart of everything that lives. True freedom doesn't end in inner silence. It expands. It touches everything. You're no longer chasing a place to arrive. You're whole wherever you are. Purpose stops being a distant goal. It becomes a way of being. You no longer need to prove your worth. It's present in every conscious step, in every yes that rises from the heart, in every no born from integrity. This new state isn't shouted to the world. It's lived. It shows up in small acts carrying quiet strength. And without trying, you become light. Not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that warms, that reveals, that reminds others they, too, can return to themselves. At this point, freedom becomes contribution. You no longer live just for yourself, but from yourself. At the end of all searching, there is no trophy waiting, no stage lights, no applause. There is only silence. But it isn't empty. It's a living silence, pulsing, full of presence. You realize you were never truly lost. The feeling of being trapped was only the distance between who you are and who you believed you had to be. Freedom isn't a new place. It's a return to the center, to the space where everything simply is. In that space, there's no rush, no inner war. You learn to dance with life, and then you feel it. You've returned. Return home, return to yourself, and you discover that you never needed anything else to be free. If these words touch some part of your heart, share in the comments what resonated most with you. Like this video, so this message can reach others who are also searching for this return. And if you feel called, subscribe to the channel so we can keep walking together, layer by layer, on this infinite journey of being human.